I was very impressed by Jensen's presentation at GTC 25 earlier this week, and I did a video on it and expressed my admiration for how he's predicting what's going to happen to the future, much as Bill Gates and Steve Jobs did. And if you hadn't seen that video, I would highly encourage it because it gives you some insight of what the future is going to hold. And so I got to thinking, how is this going to play out in the future, and how do Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta play into it? Because as I understand it, this is these are the primary sources of NVIDIA's revenue, both in the past and in the future. So I went out and I created a chart. It's on my tell sheet, and here is what I wanted to find out. What exactly are these people spending on GPUs with NVIDIA? So what I did was create a chart that showed the revenue in 2024 for Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta, which you can see amounts to about almost $1.4 trillion in revenue that they have coming in. Well, how do they spend that revenue? And I see that on cost of goods, collectively, it amounts to about $576 billion, which represents about 41% of their revenue. And then also on research and development, about $210 billion, which represents about 15% of their revenue. Then I said, okay, with that in mind, how much of that maybe came to NVIDIA? And NVIDIA's revenue was 130, almost $0.5 billion. And I said, okay, what's their cost of goods and what's their research and development? And how much of this is actually coming from these hyperscalers? And again, as I understand it, any GPUs that they have bought in 2024, probably they got from NVIDIA. And so in my reading, I said, okay, what can Jensen expect in the coming years? So I said, well, let's look at their revenue, NVIDIA's, going back to 22. And you can see from 22, their revenue was 26 billion, then jumped to 60. That's a growth rate of 125. And then in 24, it went to 130. That's a growth rate of 114. And then in 25, it's going to 204 with a 56% increase, then to 252, that's a 23%, and then 292, that's a 16% increase. So what I'm seeing is they're growing, that's NVIDIA. They're going to sell more chips, but their growth rate is slowing down dramatically. Okay, so overall, from 22 through 27, it looks like they're going to gather almost $1 trillion in sales. But what really is striking me is, why is their growth rate dropping so rapidly? So what I did was do some more digging, and what I found is each one of these companies have said, look, he's got a monopoly and we can't live with that. He's charging us tremendous profit, making profits. And so, and then we also are buying a chip off the shelf for our workload, which is different, and we can do better. So what I found is Google has contracted with a company in Taiwan called Meditech, and they're going to make their own chip. And they're going to disengage or not depend so much on Broadcom, who they were using to design their chips, and they're going to tie into a Taiwanese company, Meditech, and have them help make their chip, their own GPU, for their own process, their own workload, and then have it made by Taiwan Semiconductor. As I dug deeper, I found Amazon is doing the same thing. They have a Trainium 2, and they're partnering with Anthropic to help them develop that. And again, they want to reduce their reliance on NVIDIA and discontinue the access that NVIDIA has over them. So they want to bring it in-house is in essence. I find Meta is doing a Meta training and inference chip called MTIA, and it's going to, again, reduce cost, reduce reliance on NVIDIA, and then optimize that chip for the format that and workload that Meta is creating. And again, they are taking it what Jensen is saying, more from large language to inference. And what I understand inference to mean is that it learns more and more with each task it takes on. So if I come to Amazon and I'm looking for earpods, which I just did because I lost one of the earpods when I was out on my jog and I needed to replace them. So in essence, Amazon knows that I've bought earpods, 2 sets within the last month, and they know the first ones were just stick-in, and the second ones had the ear wraparound. So they will learn from that and probably start marketing me to other things that might fit into that. And that's what inference is all about. They learn from every interaction that you have. Then I went to Microsoft and I found that they are developing the Azure MAIA 100, which is an AI accelerator, which means to me it's a GPU. And they are also developing an Azure Cobalt 100, which is a CPU, which again tells me, and they're going to continue their relationship with Taiwan Semiconductor. So what I'm seeing is that yet NVIDIA is going to grow, and it's going to be a major part, but its growth rate is slowing down in great part because these hyperscalers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta, are going to make their own chips. Again, cutting the cost, making it more efficient for their workload, and taking control of their own business. So with that in mind, as an investor, I need to recognize that NVIDIA is not going to grow like it has in the past, and I need to see that Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta are now going to be manufacturing their chips and will actually go into competition with NVIDIA as a source for other people who need GPUs, whose maybe their inference is more aligned with Amazon's or Google's or Microsoft's or Meta's, depending upon what their business is. So as an investor, I need to make sure I maintain my position in the future for Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta, and maybe recognize that my position in NVIDIA isn't going to grow, and maybe I just need to hold what I have. So then in all of this, where's Apple? Where's Apple in this? And I keep coming back to a video I saw where Tim Cook was in a Apple store in New York City being interviewed by Jim Cramer, and in their conversation it was asked, where if we go ahead to 2035, what is Apple's biggest contribution going to be? Is it going to be the iPhone? Is it going to be the Apple Watch? What is it going to be? And Tim Cook, without hesitation, said it's going to be medical. It's going to be medical. And what I'm realizing here is Apple, I believe, has made the decision we're not going to play in that game. We're not going to play in that AI game. There's already some very good teams by the name of Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. No, we're going to play in another game, and it's medical. So with that in mind, as a long-term investor, do not give up on Apple. They're going to own that element. And in the spectrum of life, there's nothing more important than health. Education, yes, education's important. Business is important. And that's what this AI is all about. Giving us access to all the knowledge in the world so we can improve our financial business, we can we can improve the management of our home, we can improve every element of our life, but the most important is going to be health. Trust me. Trust me. I'm an aging senior citizen. Health becomes very important and very expensive. So those two things are going to keep Apple in the game. So do not sell your Apple. If Apple retreats some, make a purchase and do the same with Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta, because we all know they have grown phenomenally. The only reason they will drop and become irrelevant is if they don't keep up, if they don't change what they're doing so that they can maintain their relevancy and be competitive. And that's exactly what I'm seeing them do. So I'm building as this market is pulling back and offering me buying opportunities. I'm building my positions in Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta, and I suggest you take a look at that as well. I'll break it out on my tell sheet, what I think their prices are going to be in the future based on the research I do. I just did a phenomenal research on Micron, which changed my outlook entirely. And I'm building my position, but I got a target price that I want to get out of Micron before 2026. Come to my website. Come take a look at the gold platform. That's where you'll get access to Kerry's tell sheet. Right now, you can come and get free access to it for 14 days, and you're going to see because of AI. And again, Micron did their earnings report. I scanned and I researched, and then what came back said to me, "Wow. This is going to turn on a dime, and you better be ready to get out at the right time." Okay, this is getting exciting because AI is giving me opportunities to make better investment decisions. I encourage you to join our tribe, get involved in it. I'm going to discuss this in more detail this afternoon, which is our Friday Stock Talk. And I think I got a lot of good information that I can help you become a better investor.